Have you ever felt like you're watching your own life from the sidelines? Like everyone else is moving forward, getting promoted, getting married, launching dreams, stepping into doors that open almost effortlessly, while you remain paused? You did the work. You stayed disciplined. You prayed. You prepared. And still, nothing moves. It's not that you failed. It's worse than that. You're stuck in between. Not where you used to be. Not where you thought you would be. Just waiting. And waiting does something to the mind. It starts whispering questions you never thought you'd ask. Did I miss my moment? Was I too slow? Did I misunderstand what God showed me? Am I being punished for something I can't even see? You scroll through social media, and everyone seems ahead. You hear testimonies about overnight breakthroughs. You listen to people say, when it's your time, it just happens. But what if it doesn't? What if the door stays closed longer than you expected? What if the opportunity almost comes, and then disappears? What if the promotion goes to someone less prepared? What if the relationship you prayed for ends instead of deepens? Delay is not loud. It doesn't crash into your life like tragedy. It lingers. It stretches. It tests your internal stability. And slowly, quietly, it begins to press against your confidence. Because when progress is invisible, doubt becomes visible. But here is the question most people are too afraid to consider. What if the delay is not rejection, but reinforcement? What if the slowing down is not disapproval, but development? What if you are not being held back, but built up? Stay here, because what feels like stagnation may actually be sacred construction. And construction always looks like chaos before it looks like progress. There is a particular kind of frustration that only delay can produce. Failure is sharp. Rejection is loud. Loss is obvious. But delay is subtle. It keeps you functional while quietly draining your confidence. It allows you to keep showing up while internally questioning everything. It doesn't collapse your life, it suspends it. And suspension feels unbearable. You wake up each morning with the same responsibilities. You fulfill the same duties. You answer the same emails. You attend the same meetings. You put in the same effort. But the breakthrough you expected, the shift you believed was coming, remains out of reach. You told yourself last year would be different. You said, this is the year things change. And yet here you are, still qualified, still capable, still waiting. That's what makes delay dangerous. It attacks identity. You begin to confuse timing with value. If it hasn't happened yet, maybe I'm not worthy. If it hasn't opened yet, maybe I'm not chosen. If it hasn't progressed yet, maybe I'm not enough. The mind is ruthless when progress is slow. Comparison becomes your constant companion. You watch others move ahead with half the preparation and double the visibility. You see people celebrated for things you have been quietly faithful in for years. And a thought creeps in. Why them and not me? You try to silence it because it feels selfish. But it's honest. Delay exposes your internal motivations. It reveals whether you wanted purpose or applause. It reveals whether your faith was anchored in God or outcomes. And that revelation is uncomfortable. Because maybe you were fine trusting, as long as results followed quickly. Maybe you were steady in belief, as long as movement confirmed it. But when nothing confirms you, when there is no visible affirmation, when the door remains closed despite your preparation, that's when frustration turns inward. You start replaying every decision. Should I have moved cities? Should I have taken that other job? Should I have said yes instead of no? Did I over-spiritualize something that was just timing? Delay makes you doubt your discernment. And the longer it stretches, the more intense the internal dialogue becomes. You watch your peers advance into leadership while you remain in training. You watch relationships form while yours dissolve. You watch platforms grow while your voice seems unheard. It feels like you are invisible, not forgotten completely, just overlooked. And being overlooked is exhausting. Because you're not asking for fame. You're asking for forward movement. You're not demanding applause. You're asking for confirmation. But the silence persists. And here is the truth most people won't admit. Delay makes you feel replaceable. It makes you wonder if someone else stepped into the opportunity that was meant for you. It makes you question whether the world would even notice if you quietly stopped trying. You keep going, but the spark feels dimmer. You remain faithful, but it feels heavier. And somewhere deep inside, frustration begins to harden into disappointment. Not disappointment in others, disappointment in yourself. Maybe I overestimated my potential. Maybe I misheard God. Maybe I'm just average. That's the quiet danger of prolonged delay. It rewrites your narrative without permission. But look closely at your life. Despite the frustration, you have not quit. Despite the waiting, you are still preparing. Despite the silence, you are still listening. That tension between exhaustion and endurance reveals something powerful. You are being held steady. It does not feel like protection. It feels like restriction. But sometimes stability feels like confinement before it feels like safety. Think about how many impulsive decisions you could have made in your frustration. How many shortcuts you could have taken. How many compromises would have been easy if relief had come quickly. Yet the door did not open. And maybe, just maybe, that is mercy. Because not every open door leads upward. Some lead sideways. Some lead into rooms you are not built to sustain. Delay forces you to strengthen your internal structure. It removes the illusion that talent alone is enough. It strips away entitlement. It refines motives. It exposes impatience. And it confronts insecurity. All before elevation ever arrives. You are not being punished. You are being steadied. Because if what you are asking for carries weight, real weight, then your foundation must be reinforced. And reinforcement feels like stagnation when you don't understand the process. But here's something critical. If you were truly unqualified, you wouldn't feel this tension. The frustration exists because you know you are capable. You sense there is more. You feel the potential pressing against your current position. And that tension is not a curse. It is evidence. Evidence that you are not meant to stay where you are. But before you move forward, something inside must mature. Delay is not proof of disqualification. It is proof that timing is being calibrated. You are not being ignored. You are being aligned. And alignment requires patience that ego hates. So yes, the frustration is real. Yes, the waiting is heavy. Yes, the silence stretches your confidence. But beneath all of it, something steady is happening. You are being positioned. Not hurried. Not discarded. Positioned. And positioning always feels slower than ambition prefers. But slower does not mean lesser. It means precise. And precision requires restraint. The question is no longer, why is this not happening yet? The question becomes, what is being strengthened in me while I wait? Because if the delay is intentional, then the frustration is not wasted. And what feels like standing still may actually be the most strategic movement of your life. There is something about hidden seasons that feels unfair. You don't mind working hard. You don't mind growing. You don't even mind discipline. What you mind is invisibility. You can endure pressure if it leads somewhere visible. You can tolerate effort if progress is measurable. But when the training happens in rooms no one sees, when the development feels disconnected from recognition, that is where doubt begins to whisper again. Yet hidden training is the most strategic form of preparation, because visibility magnifies everything. If there are cracks in your character, visibility exposes them. If there is insecurity in your identity, influence amplifies it. If there is impatience in your spirit, responsibility intensifies it. So before elevation ever arrives, internal architecture must be reinforced. Think about a skyscraper. No one celebrates the foundation. No one takes pictures of concrete being poured underground. No one applauds steel beams disappearing beneath the surface. But that unseen structure determines how high the building can safely rise. If the foundation is shallow, the height must remain limited. And perhaps that is what this season is doing. Expanding your foundation, stretching your endurance, strengthening your emotional capacity. Because elevation is not just about opportunity. It is about weight. Influence has weight. Leadership has weight. Success has weight. Visibility has weight. And if your inner world cannot carry the outer responsibility, collapse becomes inevitable. You thought you were being delayed, but maybe you were being fortified. Look at how you respond to criticism now compared to a year ago. Look at how you handle disappointment now compared to before. Look at how you process rejection. There is more restraint, more awareness, more internal control. That didn't happen overnight. That happened in silence. Hidden seasons train you in ways applause never could. They teach you to act without affirmation. They teach you to serve without spotlight. They teach you to remain disciplined without immediate reward. That is power. Because when motivation no longer depends on recognition, it becomes stable. And stability is rare. The world rewards charisma quickly, but it sustains character long-term. Charisma can open doors. Character keeps them open. And maybe what you asked for requires more than talent. Maybe it requires durability. Durability is not built in ease. It is built in repetition. It is built in monotony. It is built in showing up when you feel unseen. Every time you stayed consistent without validation, your internal muscle strengthened. Every time you chose integrity over shortcut, your foundation deepened. Every time you resisted comparison, your identity solidified. You call it delay. He calls it development. Imagine if the door had opened when you first prayed. Would you have been ready to manage the pressure? Would you have handled criticism with maturity? Would you have navigated responsibility without insecurity? Would you have led without ego? Be honest. There were areas in you that needed refining. Ambition needed humbling. Confidence needed grounding. Sensitivity needed strengthening. Hidden seasons expose weakness safely. They allow you to confront insecurity privately before it is exposed publicly. That is mercy, because public collapse is louder than private correction. You feel like you are behind, but you may actually be ahead in structure. And structure determines sustainability. The world celebrates fast growth. But fast growth without root depth collapses under storm. Roots grow underground, slowly, quietly, unseen. And while no one is impressed by roots, roots determine survival. Maybe this is your root season. The stretching you feel, that's capacity expanding. The discomfort you feel, that's limitation being challenged. The boredom you feel, that's discipline being tested. Hidden training builds internal authority. Authority that does not need noise to validate it. Authority that does not panic under pressure. Authority that remains calm when storms return. Because storms will return. Elevation does not eliminate pressure. It increases it. And if pressure increases without preparation, it destroys. You are being prepared for a higher weight class. That requires thicker skin, sharper discernment, stronger boundaries, clearer identity, and deeper patience. You once prayed, "Take me higher." But higher requires stronger, and stronger requires resistance. Resistance requires time. Time feels like delay, but delay is often disguised reinforcement. You are not stagnant. You are strengthening. And strengthening is rarely glamorous. It is repetitive. It is quiet. It is sometimes lonely, but it is intentional. If the door opened too soon, the weight would have crushed you. If the platform expanded too quickly, insecurity would have sabotaged it. If recognition came prematurely, ego might have overtaken integrity. So instead of rushing you into exposure, you are being matured in obscurity. And obscurity is protective. It gives you space to refine mistakes. It gives you space to build skill. It gives you space to develop discipline. Without pressure from an audience. This season is not punishment. It is reinforcement. You are not being overlooked. You are being constructed, beam by beam, layer by layer, strength by strength. And when the time comes, when visibility increases, when doors open, when responsibility expands, you will not crumble under it. Because what is built slowly stands longer, and what is reinforced deeply rises safely. The delay was not denial. It was weight training. And weight training never feels light, but it makes you capable of carrying what once would have crushed you. Pause. Let that settle. You are not late. You are loading. There comes a moment in every prolonged delay where you must make a decision. Not about quitting. Not about forcing doors open. not about lowering your standards, but about perspective. Because the season may not change immediately, but your interpretation of it can. Reframing does not deny reality. It redefines it. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this producing in me?" Instead of, "When will this finally move?" you ask, "Who am I becoming while it doesn't?" That shift is power. Because frustration drains energy, but curiosity redirects it. What if this is not a holding cell, but a training ground? What if this is not a setback, but a strengthening cycle? What if the very thing you are resisting is the thing increasing your capacity? You once prayed for influence, but influence requires emotional control. You once prayed for leadership, but leadership requires restraint under criticism. You once prayed for impact, but impact requires endurance when results are slow. So perhaps the delay is not misalignment. Perhaps it is calibration. Your ego wants acceleration, but your calling requires stability. And stability is not rushed. It is layered. Pause. Let's breathe here. Because this next part is not about hype. It is about surrender. God, I admit that waiting has frustrated me. I have compared. I have questioned. I have doubted my timing and sometimes even doubted you. I thought readiness alone would trigger movement. I thought preparation would guarantee speed. But I see now, speed is not always strength. If this season is building depth, then build it fully. If this delay is reinforcing structure, then reinforce it completely. Do not elevate me prematurely. Do not expose me before I am anchored. Do not grant me weight I cannot carry with integrity. Stretch me before you spotlight me. Strengthen me before you expand me. Correct what needs correction. Refine what needs refining. Expose insecurity while it is still safe to confront. Remove entitlement before responsibility multiplies. Build humility where pride quietly lingers. Teach me discipline when motivation fades. And most importantly, align my heart with timing that is bigger than my urgency. I release comparison. I release the pressure to compete. I release the fear of being left behind. Because what is assigned to me cannot be taken by someone else's speed. What is designed for me cannot be stolen by someone else's visibility. And what is timed for me cannot be accelerated by anxiety. Give me steadiness. Give me patience that is active, not passive. Give me faith that is grounded, not emotional. Let me grow strong in obscurity. Let me mature without applause. Let me develop resilience that does not depend on momentum. And if the delay continues longer than I expect, let my endurance increase proportionally. Because I would rather arrive prepared than arrive early and collapse. I would rather carry weight confidently than struggle beneath it. I would rather be fortified slowly than exposed prematurely. Replace my urgency with trust. Replace my impatience with perspective. Replace my frustration with formation. And when doubt whispers that I am behind, remind me that construction is not visible from the outside. Remind me that roots deepen before branches extend. Remind me that foundation work is hidden but essential. Let me embrace the process instead of resisting it. Let me walk through this season with quiet authority. Not desperate, not bitter, not frantic, but steady, grounded, aligned. Because elevation without maturity is dangerous. But elevation with structure is unstoppable. So prepare me fully, even if it takes longer than I planned. Amen. Pause. Feel the shift. Delay no longer feels like rejection. It feels like reinforcement. You are not stuck. You are stabilizing. You are not overlooked. You are under construction. And construction requires patience, not panic. Now we move differently. Not chasing timelines, but strengthening foundations. Not comparing progress, but cultivating capacity. Because when the moment comes, and it will come, you will not need to scramble. You will not need to fake confidence. You will not need to pretend readiness. You will be steady, and steady is powerful. Now listen carefully. This is where hesitation ends. You have questioned long enough. You have analyzed long enough. You have replayed the what-if scenarios long enough. It is time to stand differently in this season. You are not late. Say that again, not emotionally, but but structurally. You are not late. You are being layered. You are not behind schedule. You are under construction. Construction zones look messy. They look delayed. They look inconvenient. But they are intentional. No architect apologizes for reinforcing steel beams. No engineer rushes foundation work to impress spectators. Why? Because what is being built must outlast the applause. And so must you. The timing over your life is not random. It is not careless. It is not reactive. It is calibrated. Calibrated to your capacity. Calibrated to your maturity. Calibrated to the weight you are meant to carry. You thought the closed door meant no. But sometimes, not yet, is protection disguised as patience. If it opened too early, pressure would have crushed you. If it expanded too fast, insecurity would have sabotaged you. If it accelerated without reinforcement, you would have broken under visibility. So the delay was not disqualification. It was development. And development produces durability. You are being built for sustainability, not for a moment. Moments fade. Character remains. Trends shift. Integrity stands. Quick rises often lead to quick collapses. But reinforced structures endure storms. And storms will come. That is not pessimism. That is reality. When influence increases, criticism increases. When responsibility grows, pressure grows. When visibility expands, scrutiny expands. So the real question is not, when will it happen? The real question is, will I be strong enough when it does? Look at yourself honestly. You are calmer now than you used to be. You react slower. You think deeper. You respond with more restraint. That did not come from ease. That came from delay. Delay refined your reactions. Delay strengthened your discernment. Delay forced you to detach your identity from immediate outcomes. You no longer need constant validation to keep moving. You no longer collapse when momentum slows. You no longer equate silence with abandonment. That is growth. And growth is evidence. You are not waiting idly. You are becoming internally unshakable. That is dangerous, in the best way. Because when opportunity finally meets you, it will not overwhelm you. You will not scramble to act ready. You will already be ready. Not because you rushed, but because you were reinforced. So here is the declaration. I am not delayed for punishment. I am delayed for durability. I am not being overlooked. I am being overhauled internally. I am not behind others. I am aligned with my design. I refuse to measure timing through comparison. I refuse to define progress by visibility. I refuse to panic in seasons of preparation. My growth is strategic. My development is intentional. My construction is purposeful. What is meant for me does not require me to compete for it. What is assigned to me cannot be stolen by someone else's speed. What is timed for me will arrive when my structure can sustain it. And when it arrives, I will not break beneath it. I will carry it, calmly, confidently, without apology, because I was strengthened in silence. I was matured in obscurity. I was reinforced in delay. You do not need to force the future. You need to fortify the present. You do not need to rush the door. You need to reinforce the frame. You do not need to chase elevation. You need to embrace formation. Pause. Feel that shift. There is authority in patience when patience is rooted in trust. There is power in waiting when waiting is active preparation. There is strength in delay when delay is divine calibration. You are not stagnant. You are stabilizing. You are not forgotten. You are fortified. You are not late. You are loading. And when the time comes, because it will come, the doors that open will not require you to shrink. They will match the version of you that endured the hidden season. They will align with the structure you built quietly. They will fit the maturity you developed privately. So stand firm. Not frantic. Not bitter. Not anxious. Steady. Because steady people do not collapse under opportunity. They carry it. This is not the end of your momentum. It is the strengthening of your foundation. And foundations determine height. Remember that. You are not behind schedule. You are on construction. And what is constructed with care stands with power.